Okay. Yes, you are audible.
Thank you so much, Joel. With that said, I'd like to start off the session by giving us a brief look into why we're doing this and why we think it's important. So the series was actually started by a group of members in the current AMSUN committee, in conjunction with a few people who help run exchanges in the school. And the sole purpose for doing this is to create more awareness on the electives and exchange programs that are available for students. And with this, we're just trying to create more awareness and sensitization for people on the different programs that are available for you and the different options. Actually, some time back, I came across a journal, a paper in the Pan-African Medical Journal. It was a cross-sectional study done in UN in July 2013, I think, by one of the postgraduate students, and it looked at the medical trainees' experiences and perceptions towards electives. And from a conclusion in that study, it showed that people actually have positive attitudes towards electives, but the documentation of their attitudes and the overall experience is never there. So in line with that, we're just trying to seek insights from people who have had the experiences of electives and exchanges programs. They can help us know what the training is like outside our affiliated institution, which is KNH, and they can also share their experiences, perceptions, perhaps give us recommendations. And we're also going to look at some of the requirements and the benefits of actually taking part in this exchange program. And with that being said, I'd like to introduce our first speaker. She is a finalist who requires little to no introduction. She was the captain to Team Red, aka the winning team at the Leave No Medic Behind Run. She's an eldest daughter, she's a sister, she's a friend, and a partner to many. And during her 6-year journey in medicine, she has amassed a good chunk of knowledge and has held various responsibilities, including being a member of the External Affairs Committee, as well as the local exchanges committee in UN. And she's an aspiring cardiologist and a public health advocate. I would love to welcome Gesare Mwenga to share her experience taking local electives at Kijabe Hospital. Welcome, Gesare.
Hi, Washeke. Hi, everyone. My name is Gesare Mwenga, as introduced earlier by Washeke, and I'm happy to be here. So let me put my video on so that you can see me, then I'm going to put it off. Okay, so that is me. That's Gesare Mwenga. You can put a face to my name. Yeah, so I did my electives in Kijabe Hospital, Kijabe Mission Hospital. I'm going to share my presentation. So give me a minute as I do so.
As she puts up her presentation, if you had any questions you would like addressed in this session, kindly leave them in the chat box, or you can use the link that was shared earlier. I will actually put it in the chat box so that you can respond.
Okay, so
excuse me, Gesare, in case, oh, okay, I thought you are experiencing challenges, wanted to offer help, but
okay.
I see you have managed.
Yes, thank you. So yeah, so as I was saying, I did my electives in Kijabe Mission Hospital, and I did it August to September 2022, just before I joined my final year. Which rotations did I do? I did orthopedic surgery and internal medicine. I was there for 6 weeks. Yes, I was there for 6 weeks. So the first 3 weeks, I did orthopedic surgery, and the next 3 weeks, I did internal medicine. So I'm just going to quickly go through like the benefits and advantages of doing your medical electives locally. Then from there, I will take you through the application process and my personal experience. I'll tell you like basically how it was. So for the benefits of medical electives, the first thing is I gained knowledge for sure. So yeah, so you get to learn to get the gist of the clinical experience in another facility, how they do their things. Then you also learn more through continuous medical education. And it was really good because a place like Kijabe, there like different rotations had different schedules for classes. So for example, orthopedics had classes early in the morning, internal medicine had classes at around 3 to 4 p.m. every single day. Then they would cover different things. For example, internal medicine, the first few weeks of interns, not now medical elective students, rotating, they are given some lectures by the consultants that are there, which included things like ECG, interpretation of an ECG, which has been very, like, it was like the best thing that happened to me, because now coming to 6th year, when I was reading ECG, it was very, really easy for me. Then like on Wednesdays, we used to have mock codes, which were basically emergency resuscitation. So I got to learn more through that. Yes. Then the other benefit is you get to understand more about the hospital, and that serves as a great survey of whether it will be your ideal internship center. So now, for example, I did orthopedic surgery, I did internal medicine. I got an idea of how things are there. I got to understand what like are the common conditions in orthopedic surgery there, what's the practice like there. And that was very helpful, because now for someone who already knows, maybe they want to pursue surgery, they want to pursue medicine. So when you go through your electives, you're like, oh, this is a good surgical internship center. So it's like a good survey for you to know what will be your ideal center. Then also, not even now, other than now the clinical practice, you also get to know, is it ideal also in terms of the environment, yeah? So maybe proximity to Nairobi, maybe social recreational centers that are around, yeah. Then the other benefit is you get to interact with more people in their field, and this includes professionals and students from other universities. So for professionals, it's very easy in a center like Kijabe, since the consultants are very friendly. You wouldn't think they are your consultants, yeah? So you interact with them in a very friendly capacity. And now also through the CMEs, you get to learn a lot from them. You ask questions, they guide you through, so it's very good. Also interacting with students from other universities, which was really good because during our time, we had students from KEMU, Kenya Methodist University, we had students from Moi University, we had Uzima University, and yeah, so some of those people are actually in the meeting today. I invited them. So yeah, so you create also bonds and you get connections. I can see Sakibor has put like an emoji on her. Yeah, she's reacted. So yeah, so you get to meet other people and interact with them and get to understand how is it like in other universities. You also get to have discussions. We had a lot of night discussions. You get to bond over a lot of things, basically. Then what are the advantages? So the advantages as pictured on my screen is you network and meeting other people. So you can see a picture of the friends. Here we were going for a bike ride. It was a Saturday. Yeah, so you get to interact with people in different capacities. Yeah, so the first advantage is you get to familiarize with how the Kenyan healthcare system works. So, so a benefit of an advantage of local electives over the ones you go overseas and whatnot. So yeah, so you get to understand how does it work here in Kenya, how do they practice their medicine? You see, like for example, Kijabe, now they had a bit of like a different way because they had Kijabe guidelines for some things. For example, even they had different pediatric protocols, such things. So you also get to understand how it works. Also, their system was digitalized. So everything, a request form, prescription, like writing notes in word rounds after word rounds, you just, yeah, so it was like you get to understand how it really works. The second thing is networking, which is a benefit. It's also an advantage because now you network with people who are like locally. So for example, I want to believe that if there's an opportunity that someone in Moi University has had and they think, oh, maybe us will be in session, they will share it with me because now we became friends and now, yeah, so they can share things with me. It becomes very easy to share opportunities with the fellow students that we are with. We also share, now we share materials for reading. We've shared AMBOS accounts with them. So yeah, so it's a good opportunity for networking and getting to understand experiences from every other nini. Also, in terms of the consultants, the interns, you also get to also interact with them. So for example, when we're there also, the people who are interning there, who are from, actually not only from your end, from all universities, we hosted them for dinner once, and they also invited us at one of their places for a game night. So through such avenues, you get to interact with them. And yeah, that's a network basically. And yeah, like one of them now works in Kenyatta and I can get free signatures. So involvement in patient management. So I really enjoyed this part because when I rotated in internal medicine, what happened is you were given a patient to handle. So when you're given that patient, you're the one who's going to be updating notes. You're the one who's going to be asking for the lab results. You're the one who's going to be presenting this patient every day in the ward round and saying this so-and-so, this is how they're doing. You'll be objective, you'll be examining them every day, such things. If there are investigations that need to be followed up, following up in the management, you'll be involved with the patient management. And the good thing is, like, since the consultants are friendly, if you think there's something you need to do, you can comfortably ask, and they'd be like, that's a good point, actually. So let's add that to the management, you see. So you get to learn how to handle patients from admission all the way to discharge. So that was also good. And also counseling, because there are family conferences that happen, especially when you're handling, heavy diagnoses and whatnot, and you need to explain to the family of the patient. So it was nice, because if it's your patient, you are brought on board, you will sit down and get to know how they happen, what are you supposed to say, and such things. And a very traumatic one was breaking the news of death to our family. That was a bit traumatic, because we were there, we didn't know what to do and all that, but you get to see as a healthcare worker, what are you supposed to be telling them, how you're supposed to explain to them how the natural history of the disease, what you have done, how did they die, such things, yeah. Yeah, and last, the other advantage of it being like now you doing your medical electives locally is because you'll do your internship locally. So if you feel like you want to go to Gesare Hospital for your internship, why not do a survey and see, is it an environment that you will consider? Does it offer the clinical experience that you want, that you think is ideal for you? So yeah. Yeah, so how did that medical elective contribute to my personal and professional growth? So professional growth, as I have said, I was involved in patient management, both emergency and long-term. So especially in internal medicine, I got to follow my patients all through. And yeah, and also the fact that we were also taught some emergency, we had some emergency training. We used to call them mock codes. So which used to happen every Wednesday at 3 p.m. So that was nice, because we were like, and every day, like, we used to also interchange roles. So for example, today I might be the team leader. So I'll be the team leader, someone else will be on the drug, someone else will be on the compressions, another one on the airway. So that was also good, because it also teaches you that there's a lot of teamwork that is needed, especially in the medical profession. And a good thing about Gesare, okay, I understand the pros and cons to it, but clinical officers are also treated the same way as medical officers. So it makes them, at least, okay, they don't have that inferiority, and what, like, everyone is involved in patient management, and despite the fact that you have gone through different curriculums and whatnot, you can still work together. And for example, if you've been to a resuscitation, you need all hands. You can't be, even if I am now the medical officer, I have all the knowledge. I can't compress, I can't do chest compressions, I can't be bagging, I can't be the one giving drugs, all those things. So you need everyone, you need the nurses, you basically just need everyone. So it was also good to learn that. And I also got a recommendation letter from the various consultants there, which I think is very important, because if I want now to go to Gesare, which we all know is a mission hospital, and you apply through CHAC, so during application, you can put in your recommendation letter, and it's going to make you like have a higher chance compared to someone who didn't go for the elective. And the other thing is networking. So yeah, I also, at least I know more doctors now. I have more colleagues, my peers from other universities. So yeah, so also that. Personal, again, in line with networking, my social capital has gone up. I know doctors, consultants from Gesare, and yeah. Then the academic growth, as I had earlier said, there are lessons, and one of the helpful lessons that I mentioned was something like the ECG learning. So it was actually like really, really good, because whoever taught the ECG process started from the physiology now to the pathology and how you interpret it and how you report it. So coming back to school, actually just finished my cardiology rotation last week. So, you know, in cardiology, you'll be seeing ECGs every now and then. Even in your end of year, there are ECG spots, and yeah. So it was easier to read and understand and now retain that knowledge. Yeah, personally, also it was a good Tembea Kenya moment, because I have seen travel companies taking people to Kijabe Springs and whatnot. So we also explored some of the areas there, the hills, the springs, and yeah, we had fun. We also rode bicycles all the way to Maimahio, but the journey back will not recommend. Yeah, so others also, mental health, you know, like definitely you get to first understand that you're not the only one going through this. It's not only had in University of Nairobi, even guys in Kemo are going through it, even guys in Moi University are going through it and all that. And you get to also interact with them, you learn how they're coping with some of the situations. And for example, the next point is fitness. So we used to work out together, take evening runs, and yeah, plus the bike riding. Yeah, so there were like good avenues to actually interact. Yeah, we used to also cook dinner together and talk about a lot of things. And you see now, okay, for us, UN, we didn't have pressure because we were during holidays. So it was easy to like talk about everything and anything. So for different universities, they have it differently. The people who do it like sort of a rotation. Yeah, they do it as sort of a rotation. So it's like at the end of fifth year or at the beginning of fifth year, you have to do electives and you go to a specific center. So then they're thinking about, oh, I have this. I know the guys like in Kemo, they had end of year like last year towards the end. So then they're also reading for end of years. So yeah, but you get to understand that, yeah. Diversification, yeah, you meet people from different areas, different areas, so you get to bond. And you also meet students from electives from other countries, which we also interacted with them, and it was, yeah, great. So yeah, these are some of our pictures. Top left is us at our bonding area. We had one restaurant that was called Kijabe Kahawa, which created beautiful memories. So here we were playing a game of poker, and yeah, we're interacting with everyone. The lady, oh my God, on the farthest right is one of the attendants there. The one who is between her and me, if you can spot me, is a doctor there who was in your end. And yeah, the others now are students, one from Kemo, one from UN, one from Moi. The top right, riding bicycles, it was an amazing time. We enjoyed, but coming back, ooh. Then bottom left is after the mock code. We were carrying the defibrillator machine there. We're supposed to return it, and we took a picture while at it. The other picture is also at Kijabe Kahawa. So yeah, application. Who do you know? This is Kenya. So my application process, I had it easy. So the ideal, is it the ideal really? Okay, the correct way, the ideal way that you will get the opportunity to go to Kijabe is that a message is usually sent people to apply for electives. It's sent through Christian Union, because remember Kijabe is a Christian hospital, so it's sent through Christian Union, CU. So then they send the application, then you can apply and send it. For me, I knew someone. So I got an email and I also shared it with my friends, and we all just sent our emails there, then we all just got it. Yeah. So I don't know if we will have time, maybe if one of our friends from other universities are willing to tell us the process they went through to get Kijabe, if it was different from the CU way. Actually, I think Kemu went through CU. I'm not sure, but maybe we can get that. Yeah, so that's the application process. My personal experience, I think I have mentioned it, my personal experience. I personally enjoyed being in Kijabe. I started with ortho. Okay, I realized I haven't spoken much about ortho. It's not my ideal specialty. So when we went there, we were actually, I think we specified the rotations that we wanted, but when we went there, we had like a meeting, all of us together, then we were told, so be flexible because maybe that rotation cannot accommodate you at that time. So for example, I think I wanted general surgery and medicine, but I think everyone from chemo wanted general surgery. There are just things here and there, so we had to adjust accordingly. So yeah, and also when you choose there, it's also not also cast on stone, because for example, my some of my friends, they had like, she also rotated through urology. So it depends, like it's a bit flexible. It's not cast on stone. So yeah, so I did orthopedic surgery for the first 3 weeks and I med for the next 3 weeks. So basically you are attached either to a registrar and a consultant, and it's good you get opportunities to scrub in. Oh, it's also important because you fill your surgery logbook, which you're given from here. So you can fill some of the, because that one you can fill from any hospital. So yeah, so you scrub in, you get to interact with those registrars and whatnot. Then you get to know how it is like for them. Some of them are doing the COSEXA program and whatnot. So you get to understand all those things. Yeah, so orthopedics, they like, for example, for Kijabe, they have like good technology and whatnot. So, and it's also advanced orthopedics. And it's not, there is trauma, but it's also not a lot. There was a lot of arthroscopy, arthroplasty. So I'm not sure how I would label it. Is it ideal? Is it not ideal? I'm not sure about that, since my interest is not in orthopedics. In terms of medicine, I actually got to meet a lot of different conditions. So it was good. And also the medical education was good. The difference between orthopedic and medicine, medical education, the orthopedic one was a bit advanced because it was for teaching the postgraduates. So it was a bit advanced, but there are things that also made sense. Like for example, initial trauma management, that one is the same throughout. So maybe the nitty-gritties of it were a bit not as palatable for us. But for medicine, it was okay. It was completely okay. It's what you're required to know as a 6th year, as a doctor. Yeah. So yeah, so medicine, I personally enjoyed medicine a lot. You meet different conditions involved in patient management. Consultants are equally nice. Yeah, so that's it. So I have left my contact there for a lot of time. If you bado ndio pay bill yangu pia. So if you're feeling a bit generous, anyway, and my email, the last one is my Instagram account. Why did I put, okay, yeah. So thank you for joining this. And I'm not sure if my people would want to how I don't know if my people will want to share about the application process. I don't know if my time is up. Yeah.
Thank you, Gesare, for the lovely, lovely presentation. I think towards the end, we're going to give your colleagues 2 minutes each to give us a brief something about the application process. But for now, thank you for the lovely presentation. It is great to hear that there are some institutions that have embraced the medtech solutions whereby you have everything digitized, which is like the future of healthcare and what we would love it to look in the future. And I am glad that you highlighted all the perks that come with undertaking your training in an institution where you're not affiliated, like the different medical techniques that you got to learn, getting the opportunity to scrub in and assist, like that's so hands-on. And also, I think you highlighted something about like the whole integration in medicine is what you learn qua grau, which is also something that my mentor mentioned to me today, that medicine is not all about theory. Kwa grau vitu ni different. You might learn all the theory, know all the pathophysiology, but when you get to the ground, things are very different. So thank you so much for highlighting that. And I think we're going to head on to the next speaker. And our next speaker is a fellow who's committed to the field of science and advancement in the same. He is passionate about fitness and is a dedicated mental health advocate who is also part of many student-led initiatives. He is going to be joining us to share his experience from the lushy Greenland overlooking the Aberdares. I would like to welcome Alvin.
Hi. Good evening, everyone. Thank you for coming. So let me just share my slides. So, yes, my name is Alvin Mwasi, as I had mentioned before. I'm an MBCHB 5 incoming, so that means I'm on holiday. So basically, I'm just going to be sharing what I experienced personally with my local elective and tips on how to approach them. Since Gesare covered a lot, so I'll just be skimming over some of the points that maybe she didn't. So when and why I started looking, so I don't know about you guys who have been through that third to fourth year holiday, but first you start having fun, you relax, you just do anything other than medicine. But eventually, your knowledge starts slipping away, starts getting old. So, you want to stay active in the medical field. You want to make sure that you're staying up to date because you only remember what you use at the end of the day. So I decided around halfway through that, I said I wanted to start looking for electives. So my search began in the groups. And basically, when I was going through the groups, I think it was in February of last year, 2022, I found now this opportunity. I found other opportunities for international electives, but they were a bit outside of my price range in some cases. In some cases, there were places that I just wasn't interested in going to, or really, wasn't aligned with my goals. So I saw a post from Lillian, who was the AMSUN External Affairs Secretary at the time, about an elective in North Kinangop Catholic Hospital in Nyandarua County. So an important point I wanted to bring up here is that I know a lot of guys, when they go on holiday, they like to just leave everything behind. You put the groups on mute, you don't want to hear anything. But there are times where you'll find a very good opportunity awaiting you, and you might miss it just because you didn't go through the group, or you just thought those messengers were just people maybe selling things or things you maybe were not interested in. So I would recommend maybe even if it's just taking a few minutes out of your day, if it's whatever, not just the class groups, but any groups that you're in, the CU groups, the Scopi, the AMSUN groups, any group that you're in, just make sure you look at it and see what's available. So when it came to getting the elective, basically there was a form I had to fill out, so I just filled it out. Didn't really want to know much about it. I was in a point in my life where I just needed to do something medical, so I didn't care. I didn't care how far I had to go. I didn't care about all the logistics. I just said yes, sign me up. And not too long after that, I was contacted by Lillian, who gave me now more information about the elective. So it was in Nyandarua. It was 2 months. We ended up, they were saying on 2 months, but we ended up settling on 2 months so that we did 3 weeks in each rotation. So in terms of now the application process, I was required to submit a letter of recommendation from the dean, which you can just go to the dean and get one. Just usually takes a few days, maybe even the next day. And then a letter of intent to the hospital, basically explaining what your goals are. So it's important to have objectives, clear-cut objectives, and basically why they should have you there and how you would contribute to the hospital. So it was a bit much, but at the same time, it's not that much considering what you get out of it. Yeah, so I did that a week before going for the elective and submitted them to the hospital. So usually other electives that I've seen and that I've applied for have requirements for CVs and referees in some cases. So a referee you can basically just get from maybe a doctor that you know, or a doctor that you've worked with, maybe even one of your lecturers who knows you, has seen your face. They can talk to them nicely. Maybe even a doctor you know outside of school. So or even any medical professional, doesn't have to be necessarily a doctor, just someone to vouch for you. So that shouldn't be too much of an issue. It is, then need to up networking skills a bit, but then referees again are not really required that much in local electives. So importantly, your CV, again, listen, we are young, we don't have all that much to say about our accomplishments. So even if you did a week working in a hospital or a week working on anything that's medical related, that should be able to do. Just add it. Yani, don't hold back. Add whatever you can. And usually those things tend to be secondary in my experience, but then it's important to just have 2, 3, 4, 5 things that are related to what it is you're applying for on your CV. So the elective structure was basically, okay, I went with a fellow student, Grace Mangi, and we also met other students there. One of them was, I think her name was Brenda from MKU, among others that I didn't really get to interact with, but they were there as well. So basically, we rotated in 3 departments for 3 weeks each. Me personally, I rotated in surgery, obs-gyn, and IMED. And then I did a weekend in psychiatry. So the hospital also had a pediatric ward and a renal unit, which I spent a few days in, but I didn't really rotate there fully. Yeah, so a bit about the hospital. So it's North Kinangop Catholic Hospital. Started on 22nd August 1965. I think it was gifted by Jomo Kenyatta to the Bishop of Nyeri at the time, with the aim of basically just having a hospital in that Nyandarua zone, because there wasn't one at that point. So it's a CHAC member health facility, just like Kijabe. It's an internship center. So you're going to go there, you'll find interns. In fact, I ended up finding, I don't know if you guys remember guys like Christopher. He was involved in politics here. And yeah, Jillian, a bunch of other students, and guys who really helped me, by the way. So they were guiding me to accommodation, helping me settle in, telling me about the hospital, how to behave, how the different departments work. So it was very helpful having them there. And we also provide accommodation for students. So that's a benefit. I think that's a common theme in these CHAC hospitals, that they provide accommodation. Food, usually you have to fend for yourself. In some, I've seen they provide a stipend, but accommodation is usually sorted. So that's just something to consider when applying. And yeah, the doctors are good. They are great. They are critical. So it's just like KNH basically, where the teaching is similar, but only this time you get to interact more with the doctor, since you're there for a long period of time and you're fewer students. Yeah. So yeah, this was me on my first day. This is the entrance to the hospital. It's very cold there, but beautiful in the morning. That was me, just excited to get started with the day. And basically in the rotations, you spend the whole day there, Monday to Friday. I think it was around 8 to 5 p.m. Sometimes if let's say you're doing surgery or obs-gyn, you'd go even till 6, 7, 8, sometimes even 9, because you're in a procedure that takes a long time. Maybe there are complications, things like that. So basically, similar to what Gesare said, you're basically just involved in now those are your patients. So pre-op, you review them, post-op, you review them, you're taking their histories, you're writing down notes every day, every morning, every evening, just making sure that everything is okay, getting their complaints, checking vitals, and then you have those minor procedures you're doing, fixing lines and whatnot. You have a POP applying. Basically, you get to do everything. That's what I love about these local electives, is that you get your hands dirty, as you'll see as we go later to the next few slides. So again, taking histories, presenting during ward rounds, you really need to take initiative, because the thing about electives is that no one is going to force you. You're on holiday. You don't have to do anything. You're not being graded for anything. So you really have to take the initiative to go out there and put in the work. And that's how you gain respect of doctors. That's how they start to rely on you more, give you more responsibilities, and through those responsibilities, you grow more as a medic, basically. So assisting in reviewing post-op patients, admitting pre-op patients for the clinic. So I think you spend 2 days per week just in the clinic, from morning to around lunchtime, just seeing patients, you're reviewing them, you're examining, you're taking histories, and it's a lot of fun because you get to see now what the prevalent problems are there. For example, there you see in Kinangop areas, you see there's a rise of things like diabetes, hypertension, these non-communicable diseases, as well as hormonal problems, hormonal imbalances. So it's a curious thing. It's probably a good thing to be an interesting thing to do a study on, in fact. So that's how you find that, by going out into the country and finding out what's going out on the ground. So I think this was my favorite part, which was now scrubbing into multiple surgeries, assisting, and at times even being assisted. So like Gesare said, it's hands-on. It's like on the job learning. So you're basically, the first day I remember of my surgery rotation, I just went into the hospital and I was just told by the doctor, "Oh, you're here. Okay, you scrub. You're coming, you're joining me." And I've never scrubbed. I've never gone for those, BLS trainings. I've not done anything. I'm fresh from that year. All I've done is fix lines. And now I'm being thrown into the deep end, which sounds scary, but it's a very good thing, because you get to learn on the job. I learned how to suture on patients rather than now in those classes that we usually have here in Chiromo. So by the time I go to those classes, things were already flowing very easily. And yeah, let me just show you some of the surgeries I was a part of. Disclaimer, if you're squeamish, although we're all medics here, I don't think anyone should be uneasy seeing such things, but I'm just warning you that maybe there's one image that's a bit much, but anyway, we move. So here we have an above knee amputation. So that's me holding there. So what happened was, we cut off the leg below. We did a below knee amputation for a diabetic patient. And unfortunately, the upper part of the leg started to become gangrenous. So we now had to go higher and cut off the leg above the knee. So that's what you can see me holding over there. It's pretty cool. I mean, if you're someone who's into surgery, into, how, these the blood vessels, nerves, muscles, like as you're cutting, you're basically going through each muscle, naming it. Doctors are testing you, trying to see if you understand what you're seeing. If you understand the bones, the causes of nerves, femoral nerve, sciatic nerve, all those. So it's very interesting, very engaging. Here we had an intramedullary nail removal. So you can see here, it's something I'd assisted with. Then the doctors had left me to just suture. So yeah, that's another procedure. I was very involved in orthopedics because that's a passionate, that's a part of surgery that I'm very passionate about. So it's like Gesare said, when you go for these electives, you should try and align yourselves into rotations that you're passionate about. Here, this was during my obs-gyn rotation. We were basically doing an abdominal hysterectomy. That's Dr. Masaba. So yeah, basically, things move very fast in there. Yani, if you have to be on point, because the doctors, they do this thing like it's second nature. Like they know it like the back of their head. So basically, you have to be. It teaches you to. You're thrown in the deep end completely, but you learn from it. Even though they criticize you, even though they, tease you sometimes, you just learn from it. You become a better doctor, and you learn to keep up as well. You learn how to assist. You learn how even to be assisted. So other surgeries I took part in were things like herniorrhaphies and hernioplasties. Just that was now helping. That's now hernia repairs. things like orchidopexies, which is now fixing or descending and descended testes, things like excisional biopsies. I helped with C-sections. I helped with the deliveries of babies. Basically, you're involved in everything that goes on. So that's one advantage I've found to local electives, that they just throw you in the deep end. And I think that's the best way to learn personally. So there was also a research club that was held on a fortnightly basis. So basically every 2 weeks, we would review a wide variety of applications, basically just see if they follow the scientific method. We would review, maybe the doctors themselves had publications they wanted to take us through. They had ideas. Basically, it was just a time to talk about research, everything research related, both nationally and internationally. So when I wasn't in hospital, you'll find that North Kinangop is basically, there's not much to do there. You're in the middle of nowhere. Maybe there's a few restaurants. So the thing that I enjoyed the most was hiking, because you have the Aberdare Hills basically all around. So Elephant Hill, Mount Kipiri, among others. As you can see, I summited, which was tough, but it was a nice break. And then you can also go jogging in the morning. It's a nice way to get heated up or warmed up, especially in that cold, because it's very cold in that region. Nyamanchama Joins, basically, there was a small town called Engineer. Some of you might know it. Just like maybe a few kilometers down the road. You just go there with some friends, you eat nyamchom, you enjoy yourself. And yeah, then of course, a few weekends, you come back home, you see friends, you see family. Yeah, it's sometimes difficult staying away from them for a long period of time. So that really helped. And then, yeah, there were also those weekends where you just, even after school, or not school, after your elective, you just chill at home. I put here reading, but sometimes you just watch series, you watch movies. You're on holiday. You also have to find a balance. You have to make sure you enjoy, but you also have to make sure that there are some things that doctors will tell you to read on, and you make sure you read on them because, you want to make a good impression. You want to look like you're taking it seriously. So why local electives are important? I'm basically repeating a lot of what Gesare said, but basically understanding the healthcare systems in our country. Hospitals and even inter-hospital relationships are very complicated. So you need to know how they work, who to talk to when you need something, who to talk to when things go wrong. And basically, it's very important to understand that, and going to a rural setting really helps you understand how things work. You also gain knowledge on the prevalent diseases in the area and how they affect communities. So things like I was saying, non-communicable diseases are on the rise, especially in Nyandarua. So that is something that now you have to start educating the public or the community there on how to basically, prophylactic measures, prevention measures, and how to look after their lifestyles and all that. Yeah, so understanding of different beliefs and faiths in our country and how they affect people's attitudes towards healthcare, because there are some people, especially in rural Kenya, where they won't come to hospital until they have moon face. They won't come to hospital until their legs are swollen until I don't know what point. They believe, they have their faith, and they don't believe that healthcare or that our healthcare systems can be a part of that faith. So it's important to know how to navigate those things. Yeah. And basically learning to work as a well-functioning collective, especially in a resource-scarce environment. Okay, I wouldn't say that the hospital I was at was resource-scarce, but there were times where you do have to improvise. So that's also important. You need to know, you never know what situation you'd find yourself in. If the world were to go into war today, or everything was to fall apart, society was to fall apart, you'd have to use whatever you can as a doctor to be able to treat people. So it's important to be able to be creative. And yeah, basically you get more responsibility, and basically you're allowed to do a lot more, encouraged to do more as a student. So by the time you're graduating, you'll find a lot of the skills that people are struggling with because it wasn't really part of their curriculum, you have mastered to a certain extent. And I think that's a very big part of becoming a good doctor at the end of the day. So challenges and solutions. So of course, one of the challenges for me was just being away from home, being away from civilization. There's nothing like a mall, nothing like, somewhere you can go and hang out with friends, unless maybe closest place was Naivasha, but even that's a bit of a trek. But basically, I think that it's worth it. You go there, you live with the people, you see how they live, you see what ideals they have. You see, basically, you'll meet all kinds of people, great people, and I think that experience is worth it because you want different perspectives. You don't want to have the perspective of only being in the city, knowing people in the city, knowing how people live in the city. You want to know how people survive out there as well. So I think that's very important. You will find it difficult sometimes. Like for me, I found it a bit difficult finding the electives, but for me, again, opportunities advertising groups. That was how I got this elective, and that's how I think most people will continue to get electives. Just number one, don't ignore your groups. I know it's tempting when you're on holiday, but don't. Number two, also just put yourself out there and make sure that basically you're open to all opportunities. Because I know some people will think, oh, Nyandarua, why would I want to go and spend 2 months in Shags with nothing to do? Me, I'm young, I want to live my life, I want to have fun. But then you also want to, it's 2 months, you want to set foundations so that though you're having fun now, your life later on will still be, trending upwards. So I know that AMSUN is very helpful. So you can talk to Akina Joel, Akina Lillian, whoever is in that AMSUN committee, just get them to, usually they're in communication with a lot of outside organizations and institutions. So you can just get them to some sort of just, let you know if anything comes up. And be proactive. Sometimes you don't wait for opportunities to come to you, you go to them. So if there's a hospital you want to work at, if maybe there's a place you've been thinking of that has a very good department, you want to try that, go and talk to them. I feel like people don't do that enough. Just go there, helps the doctors. Of course, it helps if you know people, which is now my last point, stay connected, because networks are powerful. And if a doctor can vouch for you, if someone high up can vouch for you, you have to take advantage of that, especially in this country that we live in. So me, what did I gain? So I assisted with surgeries for the first time. Doing so, I got all these skills: draping, suturing, surgical tools. I know how to do a few procedures. I did a circumcision by myself. I think the trend for surgeries is first you observe, then you assist, then you're assisted, and then you can lead the procedure. So I think local electives do a good job of now accelerating that process, because if you go, like even in Kenyatta or to any other hospitals, even internationally, you're going to be stuck at that observe point for a very long time. So I think that's if you're interested in surgery, that's definitely something you should consider. I met people who are still good friends. I'm still good friends with to this day. Some of them have graduated already. They're doctors, and whenever they have something, they let me know. And basically, they guide me through this very long, arduous journey. And one of the things that I think underestimated, because when you see patients in Kenyatta, usually they've been treated in multiple hospitals before that, and then they've been referred to Kenyatta finally. By this time, they're basically, their symptoms are not always present, signs are not always present. But then when you're on the ground at the hospitals where people go to first, get to learn how these presentations look, instead of just seeing it in a textbook. So I think that's very important as well. So where to go? I say anywhere the opportunity presents itself. Don't feel yourself too much, humble yourself. See if it's going to Shags, go to Shags. Spend 2 months there and you'll have a very powerful CV afterwards. But at the same time, ensure it is within your means, in terms of accommodation. Make sure that's sorted or something you can afford. In terms of food, make sure it's something you can afford. Transport, if that's necessary, if you're meeting from Nairobi or from wherever you live, take those things into account, because again, money talks. And if you have an idea of what you'd like to do after med school, yeah, just choose rotations that complement that, so that you even get to know doctors in that field. Instead of going to, let's say you're interested in ortho and then you go to peds, it's like, yeah, it's good to know. It's good to be a well-rounded student, definitely. But you can start directing your career in a certain way. When to go, remember, med school is paramount. Med school is the cake. Electives and exchanges are the cherry on top. So don't let electives get in the way of your academic pursuits. Make sure you're getting that 50 above all else. And if you're here, you're not getting 50, you don't need to be here. Just make sure you're getting that 50. And then afterwards, now add the icing on the cake. You can start thinking about electives. So I think holidays are best. Of course, you don't want to go during the school year. That's just a lot of stress. So third to fourth year break is good. At least you'll have some clinical experience from third year, so you won't be completely blank. But if you get an opportunity in first year, second year holiday, yani, don't limit yourself. That's time well spent either way. And you'll enter third year with a lot more knowledge than your peers. And yeah, basically, I think it's become even common for basically after third year holiday, third year to fourth year to fifth year to sixth year, everyone just tries to get an elective, or those become the holidays. You start to realize those are the holidays where you need to actually build your portfolio, build your CV, and not just rest. Rest, yes, for a time, but not for too long. Anyway, let me just leave you guys with one quote, which is nothing is more expensive than missed opportunities. So the next time an elective comes knocking at your door, even though it looks maybe unattractive to you, just think about it, check it out, and yes. So thank you for listening. I didn't add my contacts. I think I'll share them on the chat. And yeah, thank you.
Thank you so much, Alvin, for that very enriching presentation into how your elective experience went. I think my major takeout from this is that electives are a first for people. That's the first time you're gonna get the chance to scrub, maybe get to suture, or just get that, first hands-on experience to get to follow a patient from the admission all the way to the time they get discharged. So I think that's really good. I also had the mention of a research club in that institution. I think that is a really great initiative. So thumbs up to that particular institution. And I just wanted to highlight one thing. I think most of us have noticed that getting the experience from, the rural places, you get to see how different, and you get to experience the different challenges that people get out there. And being in KNH, the fact that it's a really big institution can actually shield you from what the actual state of healthcare is, uko mashinani. So I think electives are gonna give you the feel of what it's like. And also it's like a pre-game of what your internship is gonna look like. So like they said, it actually helps to give you a feel of where you want to go for your internship placement and whatnot. And lastly, to mention that we all take electives for different reasons. He highlighted he was just bored. Okay, sorry for that. Okay, we all take electives for like different reasons. Maybe you're just bored during your holiday, or you want to have a head start for your next academic year. So electives are the place to be. And you need to take initiative if you want to make that good and safe doctor. Remember, you cried to come to this course, so you need to take it upon yourself to make that good doctor. And I think electives are your first step towards getting there, even as you help to build your CV and you're just taking the steps towards your career as a doctor. So I think with that, I would like to open the floor for questions. I have seen some in the chat box, so we are going to start with that, and you can keep adding your questions, and you can feel free to unmute if you have any questions. So I will start with the questions that were directed to Gesare. So the first question was, so are electives like shadowing doctors, or are they like add-on learning? And how many hours per day do you spend when taking the electives? I'd direct the question to Gesare.
Okay. So they are basically add-on learning. I don't think I'd say it was shadowing, because, okay, in orthopedics, it's not much, but at least you're there in the clinics, and in theater, you assist in surgery. In IMED, you follow your patient. So it's not really shadowing. What was the next question?
How many hours does it take per day? Do you like do an 8 to 5? Do you have night shifts? I'm guessing that's what the question.
Okay. It's basically ideally 8 to 5, 8 to 4. Like, so it depends. You just take the shape of the day, basically, because you're attached to a registrar. The registrar will tell you, so today we have theater. So it depends. The cases might be done by 2 p.m. and whatnot. Plus, it was not so strict, let me say that. So for example, liver surgery is going to extend, like maybe the last surgery of the day starting at 3 to like 4. You don't have to stay. You can just go. So the consultants, the registrars there also understand your students, like you're on holiday perhaps and whatnot. So it's not mandatory, yeah, but it's also not that you're chilling. So you just get to do what works for you, because even now, everyone else in other rotations, like all the other rotations that are rotated in obs, and peds, all those things, we used to like the 3 p.m. class for IMED. So in as much as there might be something else ongoing, you can leave there and tell them you're going for the IMED class. And they also had 1 p.m. classes for every rotation, like on Mondays, obs, on Tuesday, peds, something like that. So they also used to ask you, are you going for the 1 p.m. class? So yeah, so it's not cast on stone, but like IMED, it was almost, because they do rounds in the morning and in the evening at 4 p.m. They call them exit rounds. So you should be there during exit rounds so that you see how your patient is progressing, are the results back, something like that. Yeah.
Okay, thank you. The next question, I think, was answered during the presentation, which was when did you take your electives? Both speakers did answer that question. It was for Alvin, it was after his third year, and for Gesare after her fifth year. Sorry for that. I think, Gesare, you can comment on your accommodation option and food, and if the hospital did anything to help with that.
Okay. So for medical electives, yes, they do provide accommodation. A very spacious personal room and a shared kitchen, living room, bathrooms, all those things are shared. And here you get hot showers. You know, Kijabe is cold, so that's a plus. Then for food, Kijabe has a canteen, and that canteen, staff are given meals for free. Yeah. They have a meal card. Yeah. So they have a meal card. So we were given meal cards to show that we are students, but that meal card now subsidizes your price. So you pay 50 bob. However, it's not 50 bob for the foods that are there. There's to be lunch for staff every day. So for example, today, staff is eating rice, beans, and cabbage. There are other options for chicken, meat, and whatnot. If you want to buy those options, you'll buy them at the price that is indicated. But if you want to eat rice and beans and cabbage, she'll give you a meal card, then you'll pay 50 bob. Then that was for lunch and dinner. Not applicable to breakfast. So yeah, so that was it. Some days we preferred to eat there. Some days we preferred to cook, especially during dinner. But lunch, most of us just ate at the canteen. It was cheaper, and yeah. But disclaimer for internship, they don't provide accommodation.
Okay. Thank you for the heads up. The next question is quite political. I don't know if you're in a position to answer, but I will state it anyway. Were the medical interns doing procedures, or doctors and consultants are doing everything? I hear that doctors and consultants are ever available. So maybe you can give a quick note on how that went, if you're in a position to answer.
Okay, so I'd say lazima ujitume in some situations, yeah. So it really depends. Okay, for IMED, I didn't feel like consultants like do everything, you get, because the interns are the ones who take history, they're basically there. The thing is, the consultant is also available there. So you tell them your thought process, they agree, and they tell you this. So yeah, so what are you thinking? Nini, evo, yeah. Then, okay, also when the first few weeks, okay, so I rotated in IMED, and also like new interns were also coming IMED. So the first few weeks, they like really guide them, you get. So that one, yes. For surgery, it's lazima ujitume. I'm not sure now. I don't know what's the standard. Okay, I did not rotate in obs-gyn, so I might not have much information of whether the interns there maybe do CSAs or whatnot on their own. But now, yes. So, but now for orthopedics, I told you the procedures there are like hip replacement. Even you as a medical intern, you're not required to nini. So you just assist very closely in such, and also like you help in like closing the wounds and whatnot. So things like that. So it's not really, I wouldn't say you shadow, like if you want to do something, you will do. It's just that you're going to be under supervision. And also like maybe in the event that an intern might actually do CSs, for example, the consultant is just a call away. So in case of an emergency, you can just call them and they'll be there, they'll be available, because they have accommodations just around Kijabe, so they're close.
Okay, also in this line, someone has asked if it's true that the interns do take examinations after every rotation.
Yeah, in some rotations, I can't remember which ones, but yeah, you do assessments, but the intern said singomo, apparently. Yeah.
Okay, thank you. So the next questions have been sent directly to me, and I will ask them to Alvin. So how did you know that the specific hospital you took was good for your elective?
Okay, so I went beforehand. I think the week before, I went for a day with my fellow the medical student I was going with. And we basically looked around the hospital. We were given a tour. We were told about accommodation. We were shown all the departments. We were shown who to talk to. So basically coming to the hospital wasn't like you're coming completely blank. You actually came and saw what was being done, and you had an idea of what you're getting into. So sometimes hospitals will allow for that, for you to come and see beforehand, instead of you just going and thinking yourself for 2 months. So that's something I'd recommend.
Okay. Next question is the resources that you used to find your exchanges or electives program, and what advice you'd give people on their choice. I think you did mention something about that. You basically used the external affairs side.
Yes. So yeah, basically external affairs. Again, I had mentioned a few other ways. Basically, like Gesare had mentioned, just knowing people, knowing doctors who can vouch for you, who can help you get into a hospital. Because usually medical students don't take up much space, especially if it's a small hospital. Maybe in the big ones, it's a bit more complicated, like Nairobi Hospital, Aga, you know. But small hospitals, you can basically just, as long as you know someone, get in there. And even if you don't know someone, it's definitely worth a try to just go and express your interest to whoever you need to talk to. And they'll basically just tell you the requirements and how to go about it.
Yes. Basically just shoot your shots.
Shoot your shot.
Yes. So next question is, there's a question if the non-clinical electives for people who are interested in non-clinical aspects of the hospital. So maybe you can share that if you saw any people taking non-clinical electives. But from my point of knowledge, I think there's some very few hospitals that do offer research electives, but that's as much as I know.
Yeah, that's basically what I would know as well. I would say if you know someone, again, it's knowing people. That's the best way to go about it. If you know someone in research, shadow them. If you know someone in maybe public health, shadow them. Yeah.
Yeah, okay. So the next question I will direct to colleagues who went to Kijabe with Gesare, basically people who do not know people in particular institutions. So the correct way of making your application and basically how to make a strong application, how to make your application stand out. So maybe Gesare, you can introduce your colleague who's gonna answer the question.
Okay, so my colleague is called Esther Kibor from Kemu University. I hope she can unmute and share how she went through her application process and if there's anything she did to be, she's already outstanding. So I don't know, maybe she can give us the tips.
Hi guys, my name is Esther Kibor and I'm in Kemu, year 6. And yeah, we went with Gesare to Kijabe for the electives last year. And so basically for us, actually it was a very serious thing. Personally, I didn't know anyone in Kijabe. I didn't have any connections. And the way I went there is through CMF. So basically, for you, okay, if you're in Kemu, for you to get an elective in a Chak hospital, you have to be a member of CMF, and you have to be actually an active member, because some of the leaders in CMF are going to vouch for you and say this person comes to the meetings, comes for the fellowships and stuff. And then we were required to have, I think, 3 recommendation letters. Okay, so for me, I got one from my CU chaplain, another one from my pastor, and another one from one recommendee from who is a leader in CMF. And so after that, so prior to that, CMF had given us 3 options to choose. You choose 3 hospitals of your choice, and then later now the ones who were deciding went and gave each allocated, like for me, I had applied to go to Tenwick, Kijabe, and Chogoria, and others had applied the same. But after all of it, it's only me and another person who got Kijabe. So you can see how it was competitive. And I don't think it's about connection. I guess it was more of how much can you convince them? And then again, it was a matter of how committed have you been in CMF and stuff like that. That was, for me, I didn't have any connections, though we were 4 of us from Kemu, 2 from CMF. The ones we went the right way, the other 2 had connections. So whatever works for you, so long as, you know, they say the end justifies the means. So yeah, I think I've answered the question. Maybe if you have more questions, you can ask me. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you so much for that. I think we've all gotten the point and the idea. The end justifies the means. So whatever way works for you, but use the appropriate recommended way, which involves the different processes that she has said. So I will take one last question and then we can close the meeting. And this is, did your elective contribute to you being able to identify your future specialty? I think maybe you can give one last point on that and then we close the platform for questions.
Okay, well, for me, it definitely did because of now that surgical experience I got, I now know that I personally want to become a surgeon. So I think it's very important, especially for that, because sometimes in Kenyatta you won't get as much experience. But those 3 weeks I spent in surge, as well as the 3 weeks I spent in obs-gyn, just, you know, using my hands, I think it definitely helped me know that maybe I wasn't as passionate about things like IMED or other specialties, more or less. So I think it's very important. But also go in there with an open mind. Don't go there with a fixed mindset. You know, be willing. Sometimes you'll find that, unfortunately, the doctor can sometimes sway your opinion, depending on which doctors you find in the ward. Maybe you find bad doctors, you have a bad experience, so you decide, this ortho, this IMED, it's not for me. But I think that's not a good mentality to have. Try and separate people from what it is you're practicing, and just be as objective as possible. And I think it will really help you decide which parts to get on. Yeah.
Okay, thank you so much. And with that, I'd like to close the questions platform. In case you have any burning questions or unanswered questions, we're still gonna have more of this series. So you can drop them on the Google form that has been circulating, and then they will be answered in future webinars. With that, I would love to thank each and every one of you for taking the time out of your busy evenings on this Monday to come and listen to what our fellow students had to share on their experience, also for your active engagement with the questions and your entire contributions to the discussion. I would also love to thank AMSUN and the Exchanges Committee for putting this together, the planning and execution of this. So thank you so much to the team in AMSUN. And I'd also like to thank our panelists who dedicated their time to come up with presentations, and they were willing to share their experiences with us. And I believe that we all got to learn a few things from them, and we will be able to make decisions on whether or not we want to take electives. And with that, I would like to end this meeting. Thank you so much for attending. Have a lovely evening and a great week ahead.
Thank you, Washaka.